All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Betty Overwatch League, coming at you with match 3. I am the mentally and emotionally broken AJS0, hopefully joined by a little less of a shell of a man, Thrifty Senpai. Thrifty, I'm not going to ask the question I always ask, because we're going to just get right into this game.
Fuck
Thank
you,
God
I'm doing
for
great.
us. Don't lie to me.
Now entering the
I could cry right now. And you know who else might be able to cry right now, or at least about an hour from now, is one of these two teams, as the loser of this match is not going to be in a good place on the season. Tide Pod Challengers, they're like a Tide Pod that's made of lead that's been dropped into the ocean. They have been sinking so fast week by week. And they were probably hoping this would be their big chance in the bounce back week. And then, of course, Jeff from the Overwatch team, they go out and win a big match versus Mercy Nerfy Daddy last week, their first match win of the season. But now they are playing with an emergency sub, with Abraxas playing in place of A. Donnelly, as neither A. Donnelly nor their substitute Hibbs were available tonight.
Yeah,
this, to me, is a must-win game for TPC. If they can't beat this team with an emergency sub, their odds of, I just don't know what happens over the second half of the season to turn this team around.
Yeah, I am not sure. I'm really curious to see how Abraxas is going to go ahead and fit into this team, though.
I mean,
I don't know anything about him.
Yeah, we have to be totally honest here. A. Donnelly, I mean, he's been a part of that match win last week. He was there, playing with two hands, but it wasn't that much more than that. This team does not rely on A. Donnelly in really any sense. And Abraxas here, he's at least hovering the Lucio on offense. So I think it's still reasonable that we might see Jeff from the Overwatch team just come out and do their thing. But we'll have a moment before we get there. On the defense, we've got Jim here on the Orisa and Sexy on the Roadhog, so switching it up a bit from what they were playing last week, with Batmel and Hook Resets being their DPS duo, not the pair they've run too often this season, as we see Team Jeff is just rushing straight onto this point very effectively. They've already taken the point, and they're going to force TPC to attempt a retake here. Jim is leading on the Orisa, but without a shield, probably will not be long for this world, and goodbye, my sweet robot. A lot of members of the top challenge all going down at the same time. That's rough. Hook Resets trying to make the magic happen up on top of the building. But that jump
very clean start coming out of here from Danko and company.
That was exactly what you want to see with a 3-tank composition. And actually, this is not 3-tank. This is 4-tank. Forgive me for not noticing. You run in and you have too much health to get picked. You jump on that point and you just get healed. This is the perfect 4-tank composition. And they are now establishing on the second point very effectively a big boy roll coming out of QMP, but a huge tire out of Hook Resets. They needed that tire, and he finds 2 with it.
Yeah, second tire here. Gonna save the day, stall off this push. Making Jeff and the Overwatch team have to rethink about taking this point.
Yeah, we did see a Batmel has swapped onto the Reaper, I believe, new pick from her for this season. And, you know, that's what you want. I would say Reaper Junkrat may be one of the best pairs you could have into a double tank composition.
Yeah, definitely not a bad one to have. Both are rather good at taking out tanks. Just lots of damage on those easy to hit targets.
Yeah, but Josh and the Danko's not wasting any time on this establish here. Josh chucks the Diva ult in, but it's going to be able to go. He's down with his teammate. Oh, teammate did not dodge that in the right direction. And now this is once again looking good for Jeff from the Overwatch team. Crystallize gets the res on a teammate, but Batmel is down. That is the tank shredder out of commission, although there is a huge whole hog coming on a ball of Sexy. Finds good time for TPC on this point, and I think it's going to be a hold here.
Yeah, Ball Sexy, really nice plays there. His ult came out second, but he was able to pin quite a few people against that wall. Follows up with the hook on the Lucio. Not a bad hold here coming out of them, but that's kind of the story of Anubis. That first point not too terribly easy to hold at times, and that second point can be extremely hard to take at times.
Yes. And we do see a big swap here. Dano off a tank onto the Tracer as the BOL's resident jack of all trades wants to keep up with just about everything. As the Graviton comes out of Josh, Danko only grabs 2, and Batmel's able to raid out of him. So really not much right out of Captain with the Graviton there. And he's going to die shortly after Josh has been defected. Looking like a good hold here again for TPC as they are getting the picks. Dano's going to trace his little ass out.
Yeah, he's got the pulse bomb. They're gonna have the hammer down this next fight. We are gonna see Cuban Pete switch off that Moira though with the ult over to Junkrat.
Now this is strange. Unless there's another swap coming, which I'm watching for and not seeing. And there it is. Okay.
That
He's
was
swapping over to Moira. I guess they're just trying to figure out what they want to play here. So they're
yeah,
going
but
towards.
he lost the whole Moira off of that. Like he was fully charged off that swap.
You know, sometimes shit happens. Unfortunately for them, it happened to them. They're gonna go into the somewhat of a dive comp, although with a Reinhardt, probably don't want to lose that hammer. But ooh, Cuban Pete gets picked in the back. And TPC are they're finding these picks on all of these entries so well right now. So they've already found 3.
Lots of ults available too. Like you're getting these picks, and they have a fantastic ult economy. Though, like the only ult they don't have right now is the Junkrat tire, but I think they'll make do. However, we're starting to see a lot of ults also charge up for Jeff.
Yeah, that's 4 for Jeff from the Overwatch team. Just missing aforementioned Moira ult as long as the Dragon Blade. As Reinhardt's going for a pretty aggressive flank here, Scotch wants to drop the hammer onto this point as Dan does not find a kill with his ult. But now a nice D.Va ult combo into the Rein flank. They found Sexy, but they've lost Dan on the process. 5 versus 5 on the point. As Quick Resets is doing some good damage, finds both the DPS from the offense. It's maybe a bit late with Lucio ult out of Abraxas, but his team is still trying to take this point. They find Hook Resets, but they're going to lose their Reinhardt in the process. And now Batmel's dropping the Reaper ultimate, put us under pressure, but most of it being by Josh Dango's D.Va. He's going to lose his mech at the end here, and I think this is another hold for the Tide Pod challenges.
My ultimate is charging.
Yeah, making up for the mistakes they had. You see a bit of difficulties just trying to work things out for Jeff for the Overwatch team after that first quick cap.
Yeah, and now I
Dano
think
coming
we
over
see
to the
the rest of the swaps that were maybe intended when Cuban Pete swapped off that Moira. He's now back to now onto the Junkrat, Dano onto the Ana, and then Josh onto his Zarya.
Yeah, quite a few swaps around. Maybe see if this will work out. Fortang not able to take this last point very
they are
easily.
at a 3 ult disadvantage right now, although Scotch is close and Captain's not that far away. This Captain's just, you know, doing the Genji tickling business. Now Cuban Pete is established on the point, but once again kicks on the entry. Jim hammers down what remains, and another good fight from the defense, and they only needed 1 ult to do it. It almost looks like Jeff from the Overwatch team, they want to force ults on their entry, but their entry is going so poorly that they can't even force more than a single ult.
Yeah, which is just the absolute worst case scenario, because then just everyone else is just, you're giving them more ult charge than you're taking from them at that point.
And it's great restraint for Tide Pod challengers not to be committing 3 ults to a fight like that.
Yeah. It is very easy sometimes when you see that, it's just like, oh, we can wipe them out real quick and easy.
And they're going to force a nice dagger there. Hook resets, sends that Riptire on in, finds Cuban Pete in the back line. And this clock is quickly turning into the offense's enemy here. Jeff from the Overwatch team's going to have 2, maybe 3 fights left in this game, depending on how they time this. As they are all going through the indoor side of this point.
Trying out a new angle attack for the first time in this map.
Yeah, it looks like they wanted to flank with Scotch, but I don't know what they're set up. They lose Abraxas' Lucio in the process, but they're still going to commit to this. They know they don't have many fights remaining, and they got to take a shot somewhere. As Scotch whips the pin here on the side, but Josh did manage to find Jim in the process. Now Captain going to be a Nano Blade coming in. A Valkyrie on a Crystallize going to try to keep his team alive, and not a whole lot was done with that Nano Blade. A lot committed. Battle up on 2 with a Reaper ult. As this is once again looking good for the defense. They keep getting the kills here. And now Josh has to be given. No, Josh, what are you doing, Josh? You needed to save that if you want to win this game. Josh and Captain lose their minds trying to take the point 2 versus 5, and they commit the Graviton for nothing.
Yeah, the second you start seeing like how some of those fight ults are coming out so late, we see the Reinhardt come out way late on the end of the fight. We see the huge opening and just not a lot of follow up with capitalize on that. And we just see ults trickling in left and right at the end. Just doesn't really bode well for this team.
Yeah, now Josh has swapped over to the Pharah, so it's a triple DPS solo tank coming out for the very final fight as Cuban Pete is gonna try to find the entry pick with the Riptire, but he goes for the Wraith Reaper. not good out of QWP. However, TPC, oh, reset gets 3 with the better Riptire, and this is gonna be a 1-point defense coming out of Tide Pod challenges. And after the worst case scenario on point A, they get their shit together for point 2.
That's the hold we wish we had last round, Swift.
I know, I'm just watching this. I was like, look at how fast they lost the first point, and they still worked it. That easy, folks. That easy unless you me.
Yeah, feels bad, Ben.
My advice, I got really easy advice for when you need to help your team win more games, okay? Everyone that ever struggles in Overwatch, this is my advice. Be 30. You'll win a lot more games than you're currently winning.
That is true.
All you gotta do, just be 30. Wake up in the morning, look in the mirror and be like, I'm 30 today. And don't stop. Don't ever stop. Don't let your 30 just be a dream. Tomorrow begins the rest of my life is 31.
Fucking seriously? That is the lamest joke I've heard from you in a while.
I was pretty upset. I got about halfway through and I realized I had no punchline to put that one together. And you can't stop. Folks, if you do as many hours of commentary as I do, you're bound to say some stupid shit on microphone too.
Yeah.
That's what we do here in the Batty League. Even the professionals do it. We just do it a little more often.
That's the secret. We're all bad here.
Tomorrow I'm going to look in the mirror all excited to be 30, and I'm going to think of this moment, and I'm going to realize I don't have the confidence to be 30 anymore. Thanks, Tim.
You're welcome. I'm here to help.
Alright, so we've
If
got...
you can't achieve it in the first place, just don't bother trying.
Josh, the Danko team, doing what he promised, bringing out the Doomfist here on the defense. So Captain and Scotch going to be the tanks for this team with Road Orisa, and Josh is set up in a nice cheeky high ground. He wants a pick on the entry. Huge fan of this Doomfist, as they've already picked T-Mic on the entry. Now Josh jumping
this is looking familiar here.
Yeah, Tick's giving over. Josh from the Overwatch team don't get out of time. Now Josh goes down. Oh no. Fist only brought Duke to himself here. This was a really awkwardly played fight from the Overwatch team. They're going to be giving up some pretty late staggers, as Abraxas is trying to hold out as long as possible. Ball of Sexy is rushing towards the point, and Jim is coming to join him. They're going to beat the Moira and the Junkrat to this point, it looks like. At least they're going to try to, as Josh actually with a huge move there takes the Ryan off the bridge. But Tide Pod Challengers want to fight this one out.
Yeah, looking here for the fast quick cap to end this game rather quickly.
Hammer does some damage, and it's going to set up the D.Va ult out of both resets. This is big. Tide Pod Challengers almost get the team kill. It's just Baby D.Va, and Baby D.Va can't 1v6 unless you're watching Hentai. An easy win for the Tide Pod Challengers.
That was explosive. That was real quick. Speaking of explosive, here we go. Hooker sets play of the game.
Yeah, the game-winning fight on the defense. He's just chucking shit over the wall blind like every high-skilled Junkrat player, and then like every high-skilled Junkrat player jumps the bridge, gets the detonate, and instantly wins the fight for his team. Do you ever go check the stream just to see how far behind it is because you want to know what Twitch chat's talking about?
Yeah, I definitely occasionally do that.
They're watching point 1 get taken right now, so...
Oh yeah, that's
I have a feeling we're about to see this Twitch chat blow up here. Maybe blow up as hard as the Shanghai Dragons defense just did. Did the Shanghai Dragons win? Alright, my viewers, I'm going to do you a favor and find out. Did the Shanghai Dragons win? Did I turn spoilers off on the Overwatch League?
Oh.
Or is the Overwatch League just paused? Alright, our competitive Overwatch. Give me what I want.
Yep.
Yep, we got Kings Row coming up next year, folks, as I will be talking about the Batty League momentarily, I'm sure. Oh, Dallas Fuel beat the Shanghai Dragons 3-2. Rough stuff.
Now entering King's
As we will head onto Kings Row and maybe see some more rough stuff here in the Batty League, as we have seen some pretty decisive games all night.
As it is just one of those weeks where apparently none of these games are going to be remotely close. We've had some of those weeks where it's just back and forth non-stop, super close, down to the wire. And other times you just get one where it's just like, well, that wasn't even remotely close. That game was done in less than 10 minutes.
All right, so we've got heading into game 2 here. Tide Pod Challengers up 1-0. Something they have not been saying much this season. So we're going to have Tide Pod Challengers starting here on the defense. As I expect we're going to see the Hanzo Arrow start out of...
Yeah.
Sorry, I got my teams backwards. We're going to see the Hanzo Arrow start out of the offense, which is the Tide Pod Challengers.
Meanwhile, gonna see a bit more of a standard setup here from Jeff from the Overwatch team. Got that Soldier Junkrat for the offense. Going back to 2 tanks, rocking out with Orisa and Zarya.
Alright, so Dano on the Moira. Not something I think I've seen much here. Pick him a big fan of you on this first point, though.
Yeah,
I trust Dano to play anything. Dano could probably play Riven in one of these games. It wouldn't surprise me. As we see the offense coming in and getting picks fast here.
Yeah, Jeff and his team going down real fast here. Kills going left and right as we just start to see a fairly clean cap once again for the Tide Pod Challengers.
Yeah, man, Jeff has got to stop delaying these patches for console and start nerfing his opponents ASAP. As this
He's
is
trying to bring competitive balance to the league. Instead, he has just doomed himself.
Yeah, we immediately see a few swaps coming out of Jeff from the Overwatch team. Dano over to the Ana, Cap'n on the Reaper as an answer to this 3-tank that is we're seeing a lot of 3-tank as the season goes on.
Yeah, it definitely seems to be one of the more popular metas that's kind of been growing, and we've been seeing it work is the big thing as well. Lots of success from the 3-tank.
Yeah, it's a much easier strategy to execute than people realize. As there's a nice hook there, and now Graviton comes out, but it's going to be counter-handed, but Human Pete gets the tire his team needed, gets everyone in the back line of that fight, and now we will maybe see Jeff from the Overwatch team pushing their way out of this cart. Recess is dropping a Diva ult in the back just to zone, and this cart is still... Well, now it's coming to a stop as this fight is Splitman's walking away, but there are 3 tanks! They don't need anyone else to push this cart as their healers have now gotten to them. And they get a pick that Josh Daniel could not afford to give up there. He will not be back in time to contest this point 2.
Yeah, it turns out having 3 big, beefy, dumb dudes makes it really hard for you guys to get killed.
Yeah, they're not even going to think about contesting that point. They are getting point 2, and they are going to grab their Apocalypse survival gear and go for the 6-minute hold out here on point 3 at Kings Row.
Yep, this is a long hold, but it is definitely doable.
Doable, but not one of the easier point 3s to hold of all the payloads that exist.
Yes.
And they look content to contest this one pretty far back. They are not contesting the first bend in the road here, as Scotch has given up a lot of shield economy for free. As now Josh Daniels, though, with the flank, it's a 4-man grab. It's going to be Lucio holding the huge play out of Crystallize to save his team. But Josh, after the Lucio ult shield wears off and putting out some pure DPS onto this team, maybe still going to be good for Jeff and the Overwatch team as they have finally stopped this cart.
I don't know, they blew 3 ults, and this fight's still real even.
Yeah, but a win is a win. They still do have the other 3 ults available.
Yep, here we go. That is the stabilization first hold of the day. Also, just realized this is not 3 tank, this is 4 tank.
Alright, there comes the Graviton out of Bat Mount. Another huge Graviton, and Jim swinging that golden hammer all over it. A bunch of damage going out. Josh Danko, not enough to stop this cart by himself. As Dano goes for a quick jump off, so this team can get one last reset here right at the point. But it is going to be real awkward getting onto this cart against 4 tanks. I guess it's only 3 right now.
Yeah.
Fortunately for them, hook resets in baby form. Is a Praxis!
Oh my!
He gets the hook off the edge! So much of wall is sexy. Now a D-ball coming out from the back line for hook resets, gets the healers and Cuban Pete. This is looking so good for the time by challenge. It's just capping on the Reaper right now, and he's got to hold this for a long time before Lucio's going to get there. He's doing his damnedest, but there's a boop off, and that is the capture for the Tidebot challengers.
4 tank OP.
Switching sides.
Oh my goodness. Turns out this is just battle royale of big tanks. That is what this last match is.
Yeah, and honestly, quad tank, this, beyond what it is as a strategy, this might be incredibly effective against the lineup that we see Jeff from the Overwatch team run, as they kind of rely on Josh Danko making big plays on a tank to win games. And as a tank, you don't really make big plays onto opposing tanks.
No, you go kill like squishy people, you go run down the healers, unless it's a giant Diva ult or, you know, giant Ryan ult, something like that.
Yeah, and even then, like a giant Ryan ult, like the tanks are going to eat that a lot better than, you know, if you find 2 of the healers in DPS. It's really hard for Josh Danko to be effective, especially as a Zarya Diva player into 4 tank. And it really puts a lot of the burden if they're going to be running 2 DPS on their DPS to carry. And Captain's been streaky, and Cuban Pete hasn't been as effective as some of the other Junkrats we have. Obviously, it's hard when you're going up against guys like Ninja Plez, but as a composition, this seems like a really brilliant answer to what's Jeff from the Overwatch team like to run. So obviously, what do you do after running a brilliant composition? You turn everything on its head, give the enemy team something different, and you show them Jim Bone on the Bastion. And now, folks, you might think this is a meme composition, you might think this is cheese, but look at that man. Look at that golden gun. You may not like it, but this is what ideal Overwatch play looks like.
Yeah, and honestly, like, if they go 4 tank, and you just got a Bastion sitting there, you're gonna have a really bad time against that Bastion.
Yeah, they might have been predicting the 4 tank answer, but it's not coming. Josh Danko goes back to the Doomfist, so it's 2-2-2 coming out of the offense. Not going to be easy for the Doomfist to get onto this Bastion, I think, especially if he gets hooked there. Nice play out of Sexy, as they are holding this Bastion very effectively here. But a huge purple comes out, and Cuban Pete's going to rain in the 1 grenade necessary. He's going to die for it, but that is a well-worth trade, although Jim has been rezzed by Crystallize.
Dano has been on point with these grenades. Like, I've seen so many solid grenades with 3 to 4 plus purples.
Yeah, folks, if the camera gets chances to show it, as we're going to get a pause here, great, because I can gush about Dano a bit. Dano is an excellent Ana player. I have not played with anyone who uses the grenade as effective offensively as he does, which is really one of Ana's best uses. There's so many plays you just shut out with a good grenade, as it looks like we're having a little bit of a ping issue for Mr. Danko, so we're going to try to get that sorted out real fast. We will hopefully be back fast. As I imagine playing Doomfist with high ping is not great. Maybe that's one of Doomfist's bugs. You know, he's got like, I heard he has about 250 different bugs. Maybe one of them that just randomly makes you ping spike. I'd believe it at this point.
Yeah. I'm really curious to see how we're gonna what adaptations Jeff from the Overwatch team's gonna try and make for this last point. Maybe they're just not going to. They have the tire going up, saying, "Hey, we can get this. We'll get the tire. Force up, kill that Bastion, get what we need done." But if not,
Yeah, you know, it's actually I believe those guns are like really. I don't know enough about gold to make the joke I wanted to make. Just forget this ever happened. Everyone, delete this from your minds.
we're off our games, man. First we get on. It just wasn't meant to be today. Like
It's rough, man.
it's not a good look.
I should have grabbed a beer after that last match. That's what I needed right now.
I should have just grabbed a stiff drink. I honestly, just like you said that, I'm like, I could go for a drink right now. That sounds wonderful.
So it looks like Josh Danko is resetting his Overwatch. Josh was still in this channel. He was in this. He had his sound muted. I saw him in here when I joined. I just never thought to look again. Because I don't believe his team uses TeamSpeak. Then no, they do not. They either, I don't know if they use Discord or if they're actually boosted enough to use the in-game chat. So probably got a minute here to stall out and talk about some other things. So
yeah,
let's
also,
talk about our sponsors real quick.
Yeah.
Folks, I don't know if you've ever had this, but it is a great product. It is called water. As you may have heard, it is actually free unless you pay for it. And it's really good for your voice. When you got to cast 2 matches and then shot call between them, you got to keep yourself hydrated. You got to rest those very, very precious vocal cords that I love to use at about 80% capacity at all given times. I recommend if you're ever going to become a professional commentator, do not get over-ear headphones. Get something with an open back. It'll really help you control your own volume. At this point, I will never learn, and I've accepted my fate.
Yep, you are doomed to eternally speak at 80% volume.
Yeah, it sucks. But that water helps me make it through the pain.
Yeah, and guess what? You know what, Swift? Water is free, unless you pay for it.
And I ain't paying for it, baby.
Hell yeah. You want to give our shout out to our other...
Can I tell a funny story on stream about one of our sponsors? So we had a sponsorship gift coming in, actually. We were flying in a sponsor from Subway Incorporated to reward one of our all-time favorite bads named Tree. And unfortunately, there was an error in delivery where Tree was delivered a Subway gift card with 56 cents by the one and only Thrifty Senpai. Which he then proceeded to use after work one day, only to find out there wasn't even enough money to pay for dinner.
Thinking he got a free sandwich. And
that is the level of sponsorship you get when you're in the Baddie League. 56-cent gift cards, folks.
Yeah.
You don't get this on your shitty solo Twitch streams.
Oh yeah, you wish you got a 56-cent gift card. Oh, and last
you know the first pizza delivery was in 1889?
Yeah.
I don't believe that.
I have no clue. But you know, yeah, I got a better fun fact. So, you know our last sponsor, Swift. Yeah, it's an age-old legend, right?
Oh, it's great. They sponsor the Bad Play of the Week every week, if I remember correctly.
They do sponsor the Bad Play of the Week every week. But you know what is actually larger than a Bad Dragon dildo?
What?
A blue whale penis. That shit's 10 foot long.
That's approximately how much dick we sucked last match.
That's a lot of dick.
That is a lot of dick. Folks, you cannot win Overwatch games while sucking 10 feet of dick. If you can't be 30, just make sure you suck at least a few feet less than that.
Yeah, like you gotta draw the line somewhere. Like, a foot, that's fine. I mean, that's a lot to handle. That's a lot of meat, but like, and I mean, there's 6 of you, so maybe you could go for like the full 6 foot. 6-inch dick, 6 feet dick. Yeah, you could get confused there, but 10 foot's just out too much. You saw what happened. It's not a good look.
Not pretty. This is the most we have lost our mind on stream in a while.
It's been a real good time. Oh man, I've definitely not had it's rough casting like right after that. Like you just kind of sit there and you're like, I just want to like not do anything. Fucking forget it. It's like, no. You're not free yet. You gotta go watch other people have fun. Or be bad. I guess it'd be cathartic, you know, if like you just see like actually someone's managed to get railed harder than you did. But unfortunately you couldn't get railed harder than we did, so I don't get that even.
Well, I'm not going to rule that out just yet. This is pretty dominant out of the Tide Pod challenges at this point.
That is true. They at least capped the first point though. On Anubis. We didn't do that.
Hey man, it is a full match still to be played, and to be real for a second here, this could be actually a pretty tough situation to come back from Jeff from the Overwatch team. I don't know enough about the mental state of most of these players. I don't know many of these players that well. But it is actually, when you're currently losing and things aren't going well, especially when you're getting beat by something like a Bastion, it's really easy to be tilted. And then coming off a pause, if you lose the first fight coming out of this pause, it can really just tank a mental state after, you know, at this point, a 10-15 minute pause.
Yeah, that's a very good point. Like, a long pause like this really does just, like, it does affect your mental state. You don't really have anything. It's hard to stay focused or recuperate that mental state a lot of the time. Like, you kind of pause and it just kind of locks in that mindset of where you were and almost just kind of bubbles it up even. Like, if you're already doing shitty and it gets paused, like, it's just going to be even worse. If you're doing well, though, it tends to help as well. Your pause, like, assuming it doesn't throw you out of your groove.
Yeah, but that does sometimes happen, too.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely can. Like, sometimes you have a really good tempo going, everything's going really well, and the other team just needed a second to rethink, and the pause can just throw that off for you guys. You're no longer running on the same 6 cylinders. But yeah. No, it's of course the even better thing though is like not only like is this been the first game we've had in a long time where we've just like fucking lost our minds, but of course we have a solid pause so we can just contemplate and reflect on that to all the people watching.
Yeah, Twitch chat, if you got anything you want to hear Tim and I discuss, throw some shit posting out there, and maybe we'll take your ideas for buying time in this pause, as we are no Monte Cristo and Doa. I guess to those of you that maybe don't know, since we do have a lot of people in this group now that are newer to esports, maybe weren't following before they got into Overwatch, Monte Cristo and Doa, two of the cast for the Overwatch League, used to cast Korean League of Legends. Obviously, not in Korean. Very famous for having to buy all of the time in long pauses. They were great.
Yeah, no, they had like one that was just I can't remember how long it was. They had one that was like a 45-minute delay, and they just talked the whole way through. They just kept going. One day, we might be half as good. And I'll be excited about that day. So, Swift, well, if we're going to try to keep it at least somewhat tangential to Overwatch, who's going to win Overwatch League first season? Like...
The whole season or the first stage?
The first stage, sorry.
Okay, so those of you that haven't been following super close, next weekend, Saturday, so 10 days from now, the Overwatch League Stage 1 playoffs will occur with the top 3 teams in the league going in. 2 and 3 play a best of 5, and then winner plays the 1 seed. And my money is on New York Excel right now. They've looked the best in the most different ways, and it has pretty much been a best case scenario for them here in Stage 1. As we've seen a little bit of stumbling out of some of the other Korean teams.
Yeah, they've definitely, like, a lot of the other ones have shown that they can bleed, but the Excelsior, not so much. I mean, I haven't seen every single game, and I've only been following loosely, but all the times I've looked, they've looked just exceptionally dominant.
Yeah, and I'm really excited to watch these Stage 1 playoffs, because this is going to be the first time we watch these teams kind of show their hand on what they do when it matters. Because, you know, some traditional sports are like this too, where you have so many games in the regular season where you're trying out so many things, and we're seeing that in the Overwatch League. Some of these teams, especially these all-Korean rosters, are they're experimenting so much with their lineups, you know, from map to map and whatnot. And come the playoffs, we're finally going to get to see, you know, what is their best, you know, their best lineups. How much swapping do they do? I'm very excited because the Overwatch League, we've seen some very good games come out of these top teams.
Yeah, and at the very least, no matter what does happen, I am sure it'll be a very solid conclusion to the first stage. We've had some pretty consistently good games throughout the whole season, so I imagine that's not going to change anytime soon.
All right, Tip, who's your waifu?
What?
Who's your waifu?
Karisu, baby.
Who?
Karisu? That's
Who?
the girl. Karisu.
Who the fuck is
Christina,
Karisu?
Steins Gate, man.
Dude, your waifu is shit.
You know what? Who's your shit waifu?
I have a harem. Thank
Yeah,
you very
you know
much.
what? You know what they say, Swift. More than one waifu, wreck your waifu.
It hasn't wrecked my waifu yet.
I don't know, Swift.
Maybe
Look,
it has.
look what happened last game. If you had one waifu, that wouldn't have happened. Think of all the SBLs you've won, Swift.
Do you ever wonder how you would explain to your parents, like, Mom, Dad, I'm in love with an android that exists 10,000 years in the future in a video game?
Oh.
Really though, I think
Yeah.
it's a fun mental exercise to play
Yeah.
out that conversation in your head. Like,
Yeah, yeah.
how do you sell 2B to your parents? I'm not sure I've figured that one out yet. That is a tough one to solve. I'm still
I
working
really
on
think that depends on some people. I think like some people's parents are a little more accepting of someone who's just like, yeah, I am in love with a 2D girl, but you know, other people, I think they're gonna have a tough time. Like some people don't even accept their kids if they're gay. How are you gonna explain loving some 2D girl?
I can see the look on my mother's face.
Yeah.
You know that? Oh, okay, that's nice, honey. That look.
Yeah, they're like, I don't want to just say what the fuck because you're my son and I love you, but oh God, why? Where did I go wrong in raising you?
All right. As an update, I think Josh Danko needs a re-invite to this game. Gonna see if we can get this figured out real quick.
Oh boy.
As Tree is, I believe, the game moderator here, so we're gonna try and get this going, which hopefully means we are closer. And there we go. Josh Danko has an invite coming, so I think we're gonna hopefully be ready for an unpause here, folks. We're gonna just check with these teams.
Oh baby, it's been a hot minute, but we're about ready to be back in action. We got Josh Danko back in the mix. Just
Hey,
in
Tim.
time. What's up?
This was a nice bonding experience.
It was.
I'm glad we had this.
This was cathartic. I needed that.
All right. That looked like a ready out of both teams. We got the stream ready. Folks, we're going live. I'm going to say it in Twitch chat. So
See, look at this.
all right.
No wonder said everyone in Easy Clap has one waifu. That's why they succeeded.
Yeah, we'll debate this some other time. As
Yeah, that's
now
another
we're gonna
time.
Debate how to take this point and whether Josh Danko can do it with the Doomfist. As I don't know what happened. Did he swap off Doomfist and swap back on? Because he's at 4% ult right now.
Oh,
'Cause he definitely has
probably
not ulted yet.
he PC'd, so it probably fucking resets that.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah,
it did. So
that's not a
Rob
good
probably
luck.
Loses. I guess he died pretty early in the last fight, so we don't think he lose a ton. Obviously not good, as they also lose Captain and a mech on their entry here. Hard to push him without the tanks, and they are backing the fuck off. As they do lose Scotch, and they actually lose QP. I don't know, they were all retreating there, but QP also popped the tire. Just more miscoordination out of Jeff from the Overwatch team. And they gotta settle in pretty fast here. They do not have long to work with. Only 2 minutes remaining. As they're about to push into a lot of ults. 3 ults up, the other 3 over 80% for the defense. Watch for Jim on this Bastion to go big here. As I imagine we're going to see the Nano Bastion play coming out.
Oh,
As
I'm sure.
Jim is set up in the window! Oh, you madman! Oh no! You can't do that! That's
Give over,
unfair!
Jeff. Bastion has the high ground. I saw this in a movie once. You can't beat the high ground.
He's fallen sexy, but here comes Jim. Boop, 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 boop. As Hook Resets finds one with his Deadeye. This is not going good for the offense, but they did at least get a lot of ults out. This is 4 ults popped from the defense. Only a nano committed by Dano on the other side. As there's going to be some late staggers here. We might see Jeff from the Overwatch team force the tempo before Crystallize can get back here, actually. So Jim is set up pretty aggressively on this point, just in the good old back corner. So we see Josh then go over to that Pharah.
Yep, working angles, dropping rockets.
And there we go,
oh,
a huge
massive
Graviton comes out of cabin. Josh is raining rockets in there, and that's gonna be off. Josh Danko with a terrible, terrible, terrible rocket barrage. But regardless, that's going to be a point captured from Jeff from the Overwatch team. And King's Row will not come to an end yet, as we see a ton of hero swaps coming out of the defense. And 6 members on fire after that fight for the offense.
Yeah, that Graviton Surge makes fights about as easy as they get. When you get a 6-man Grav Surge, as long as there's one body to back you up, you're going to see some kills.
Now there's no Zenyatta, but there is a double hit scan coming out of TPC here. Gonna try to take Josh Danko out Scott, but there's also no mercy for Josh. So this should be advantage TPC if they play this smart. They're pushing this pretty far forward. They probably want to contest this first bend as Cap'n is forcing the issue. Another nice grenade out of Danos, buying a lot of space for the offense, but Danos gonna go down on the flank from Hook Resets' retreat. Now Jim is making his way onto the cart, but he's gonna kind of slip from his team. Miscoordination there, and now Jim sends the tire around the back, finds 2 more. This is a big fight win for Jeff from the Overwatch team, as they might be turning things around here on King's Row.
Yeah, it's starting to look good for them. They've got a nice bit of momentum going here. This cart going a little slow with only 1 person back on it, but they are pushing the enemy team rather deep.
Yeah, very, very nice push out of them. Oh, they might be able to get tanks there in time. They just now set 3 up, but no! Josh Danko flies in with the rocket barrage on the backside, takes out Crystallize. Now Flawless XC is being zoned very far away from the start. Jim is trying to charge for it, a meter away from capping point 2, but they have gotten on the contest. They've taken out Scott, they've taken out Rex, they've taken out Dano. And somehow Tide Pod Challenge is reestablished on this card after that huge Josh Danko play.
Yeah, well, it just wasn't enough. They were able to get enough bodies onto that cart, and that's going to hold it for right now.
Yeah, now Tide Pod Challengers, they have 5 ults and 70 on the 6, looking very good to end this on point 2.
They will have to play this right, but if this fight does not start soon, this will be the last reasonable fight we're going to see here. And they are definitely in the ult economy you want to be in this position.
Yeah, they need I think a huge Diva Bomb coming out of Scotch here for this fight to be good. As Josh is laying the damage down, Ballsex is going to whip the hook. Now Hook Resets starting things with the Deadeye, maybe a little too deep with that. I don't think he's going to find anything. And now Scotch gets in the middle of the team, but this is going to be blocked. No, Batmel does not get that one blocked, so that's 1 hit to Scotch's Diva Bomb. But will it be enough? Farah's still raining down a lot of damage, fairly uncontested, as another big Graviton comes out of Cap'n, but they're not getting as much damage into it, but it might not matter. It was enough damage. It just crystallizes Little Mercy trying to hold this card, and that is not going to be enough. Definitely Overwatch team, keep King's Row alive yet again.
But nothing but clutch at the very least. Running into some tough situations, but they were able to pull them out in the last minute. But we're just have just under 2 minutes left to match the last cap on this point.
Now we've seen Hook Reset swapped over to the Genji. As Jim dropping the hammer on this card. This is looking big for the defense again. So they get a bunch of kills here. They only lose Jim in the process, but well worth it for them. There's a few ults available for both teams heading into this likely second to last fight.
So yeah, we're looking how it is, but once again, we're in the same situation. If they don't start the fight soon, nope, Pete with the tire, gonna find Batmel.
Forcing the issue, but it's just gonna be a res out of Crystallize. Not there to follow up enough, but they have the cart moving again. Josh putting down a lot of damage, but he gets hooked out of the sky. Josh Danko is down. However, they lose Batmel on the flank. Cuban Pete is putting out some good damage on the flank room here. This cart is still moving. Sexy does get the hook though. It's Cuban Pete down as Hook Resets is genging around on this cart. And now there we go. The Dragon Blade coming out of Hook Resets. He 5-1, he 5-2, that's both of the healers. He 5-3, that's 4. He pops the Valkyrie pretty late there. I don't think he needed to pop that, but this cart is going to be stopped. There are still some big ults available from the offense here for this last fight. They're going to try to win this in overtime, but Cuban Pete gets picked. Only 20% away from a Riptide. They really could have used that.
So they might not be able to get in on time.
Trying to force this, but now Josh goes down. There's no DPS available for the offense. Scott's looking for the pin, but he loses his entire team dropping that shield. He gets a nice hammer, but it won't matter. He can't get on this cart in time. And after about an hour on King's Road, the Tide Pod Challengers win fairly convincingly.
Play of the game.
And play of the game is going to be Josh Danko, who did have a few big plays on the spare here. As this was into that just gigantic Graviton out of cap, and no ult required. Look at that, they were already dead, Josh! You good, they needed that! As we actually see Cuban Pete with the 28% damage card, not the player on that team we see with the damage card often.
No, that was unexpected surprise.
And so that is now a 2-0 match lead, going to be the first match win of the season here for the Tide Pod Challenges. Means after today, every team at least has secured a single match win. Gonna try to make it a 3-0 while they're at it. As looks like we're swapping in Everlight for Crystallize. Maybe a side effect of how late that match went. Not sure.
That is definitely a possibility. Not entirely sure. I do know Crystallize is an active WoW raider. And it's he normally does meet around this similar time, but it's been a minute since I talked to them, so I can't confirm or deny whether or not that actually is the case.
I like to think it's like the Overwatch League, and they just want to try out everyone on their roster in some real game action.
Yeah.
They've already secured their match, so they're willing to go give us a try with Everlight, who should bring a very different skill set than what Crystallize plays. Everlight traditionally played DPS, a lot of Pharah and Genji when he was a starter last season. Crystallize has obviously been on Mercy more often than not. So we're going to see who slots into that second heal slot next to Teemic. Maybe we'll see Sexy. I know he plays a bit of heals.
Yeah, you got a couple options, but I think putting Sexy on not DPS or tank is just a disservice to the man.
It is, but I don't know if Hook Resets or Batmel play healer at all. I don't have my sign-up information in front of me at this anymore. I've only been keeping stats on what teams are actually playing at this point. As maybe they're going to just say, fuck it, and put Everlight onto the healer. You know, that could be the easiest thing to do, too. I don't know what Everlight's been playing in practice in the last few months. But it looks like they are running... I guess I'm not going to get my hopes up. There's no way they run the Sombra. No one ever runs the Sombra! Oh, yeah, so sad. I like Sombra.
Sombra's a pretty cool character. That is one we do not see much of in the Overwatch League, though. In the Batty Overwatch League. But this one might be the one you're seeing here for, you know... You only need to run one healer. I mean, yeah, let's run a Sombra.
And Hope Reset switches over to the Mercy at the last second. Batmel over to the Moira. So they're running a triple heal composition out of... Alright, so they're going with the pharmacy comp I've always wanted to see, where the Era actually has dedicated Mercy... Or sorry, no, they are still swapping. I got my phases mixed up. I was so excited for the triple heal composition.
Yep.
Alright, I'm not going to tell anyone about this triple healer composition with Pharah that I think is really cool. Keeping that one in the secret book still.
Capture the objective.
Alright, so it's going to be Batmel Teemic playing the heals here. Otherwise, fairly standard stuff coming out of Josh and the Dankos. as both teams are setting up in front of the gazebo room, as I call it. Slowly just kind of strafing their way towards the point behind these Reinhardts. So this is one of the most awkward engages I've ever seen. Ooh, Batmel gets picked early. And Tide Pod Challenge are taking their window and going to try to run with it, as there is a deep charge coming there. I don't know what Scotch was going for, but it did not work.
Unfortunately for him, he goes down before he's able to capitalize on that charge. We start seeing a few more people going down on both sides.
Is lost. That's Batmel solo healing on the Moira, and that's another pick on a Jim here. This maybe is all right for Josh and friends. As Hooker Sense is just standing still in the back window. He gets fire struck, and he's going to go down. That's a cap over to Jeff from the Overwatch team as they're securing their last picks here.
Evilite, meanwhile, hanging out on the top of the lighthouse, just kind of sitting tight, wait for his team to get back, bail him out a bit.
Yeah, there's a lot of ult charge that was built up in that first fight. A lot of players, over 90% of both teams, so we could see a really huge fight. Keep an eye on Hoover Sets up on the top, and with no obvious players on the opposing lineup to really stop a big Dragon Blade. And here we go. The Dragon becomes him. It's going to be answered with the Lucio wall. I don't know if that's nothing. That was enough. The Princess goes down without finding a kill. Dano dies at the end of it. Josh will go down as well, and so does Captain. Oh, and actually, this could be very good for the Tide Pod challenges. Scott is trying to answer with a big hammer. He finds two, but it's only to kill onto the one. There are a lockdown as BOL is Sexy's whole hogging it on this point. Looks like Tide Pod challengers, they were able to draw enough pressure on that Genji ult to flip the point around.
So, showing a bit of life from both teams here.
I don't think we're seeing any swaps out of these teams just yet. Not
I think both teams
surprising.
are fairly happy
with the
with how
situation, but
these are running
Evilite
out.
gets the pick onto Abraxas.
Sexy
Yeah,
picking
that
up
was
Captain as well with a nice hook. That's going to slow down or just completely end this push, to say the least.
Yeah, 5v4, 5v6, maybe you take the push. 4v6, smart to just give up on it.
Yeah, you're
That's
not winning that
what
fight.
they're going to do. We do see a good push forward here. Now, Josh Danko does have the Graviton Surge available. This is the big ult I'm keeping an eye out for on this fight. And there you go, chucks it in pretty aggressively. Bounce 3, but the motor is able to shift out as the tire QB doesn't get anybody. Captain down as well. This is looking good for the defense. Now Jim once again with a big hammer. Genji jumping in, picking off the man on the ground. And they're gonna hook Josh, and they're gonna snare Josh good here. Josh stands still hoping to die, but they make him start running toward that ledge before they finish him off. And now we are in one fight territory for Jeff from the Overwatch team.
Yeah, no, looking to be quite a strong turnaround here. They do not have ult advantage, though, in their favor.
Yeah.
Tide Pod challengers here sitting up with 5 ults, looking to make a very powerful last play.
Yeah, Josh just swapped over to the Diva, the only swap we have going into this last fight. As they are coming in fast, they are coming in hot, looping around the back. And at this point, but Diva gets hooked out of the air. Not enough damage to T-Mecha, but he's close, and there it goes. The mech is down, and now Hook says popping the Nano Blade, or sorry, just the Dragon Blade. Doesn't need the Nano as he is finding everyone's health bar, reducing it straight to 0. And an easy last fight there. Tide Pod Challengers taking this to map point.
Yep. Also a little shout out there at the end. Evo gets the boop on Batmel right as not Batmel. Abraxas, right as he starts the Moira ult, gets booped off immediately.
Man, that's so disappointing. It'd be like if Goku spent like 10 episodes charging up to a Kamehameha and then he just like whipped it.
Yeah, that's basically what happened. Except instead of,
And I'm sure that never happened in Dragon Ball Z because Goku was the best. Now, if it was a Spirit Bomb, what's the Overwatch equivalent of a Spirit Bomb? Is it the Graviton?
5, 4, 3,
Your team has to give you their energy by taking damage with your shield on them.
2, capture.
It's the biggest play in the game if it works, but if you whiff it, you look like a goon.
Okay, yeah. I feel like there's at least a decent argument for that there.
One of my goals is to turn this into the Dragon Ball Z League over the second half of this season. And folks, we're going to start working on a team effort here because Overwatch is a team game and Dano is looping around behind this enemy team on the Tracer here. Not finding a whole lot though. This point's about to open. No one has been picked just yet. As Josh Nago is playing this so aggressively on the Pharah, played it very well. As now we're seeing the tanks move onto this point. Widowmaker from Evolite, pick I would not have expected. He finds a practice. The first pick of the game. Scott now goes down on the side to Jim, and 3 picks there. Josh Nago trying to force the issue with his barrage. It's 2. It's the healers, but the point has been flipped.
Tide Pod Challengers once again starting out with a strong cap here. Let's see, however, if this time Jeff over the Overwatch team can take back the point after they lost it last time. They just had a bit of trouble ever rallying back.
Yeah, this triple DPS comp with Scotch on the solo tank gonna make its 2nd attempt at this point. Asking a lot out of this DPS not to get picked early by this Widowmaker, and Widow finds Josh! That's a substitute player, you just got picked by Josh.
Yeah, Evo putting this through some decent work, getting a nice couple picks off of here, and he's drawn a decent amount of pressure as well.
Yeah, good push out of the Tide Pod Challengers. They're trying to find extra picks here. Sexy gets the hook, but he's actually going to go down. Josh Nago is onto the Doomfist now. Maybe we'll smash on the Doomfist with
solo.
Scotch. Gets a solo ult there. Tranquility coming out. Gonna not do it a lot there on human beats. As the DPS is finding their picks here on the point.
Yeah, no. Looks like a bit of an odd start, but we are seeing people go down left and right, and a pretty clean fight here for Jeff from the Overwatch team.
Yeah, the 3 dive DPS comp, not something you see every day. But if these players can find the outplays, if these are the stars, this is putting every single egg in the basket of the 3-star players from Jeff from the Overwatch team. And for now, they're saying that they can execute, and they are at least holding the point. But we'll see if they can keep it. As Josh going forward, just knocking that Ryan all over the place.
The pimp hand is strong. See that thing?
Sexy gets a pick onto one of their healers. Now this could be the chance. Josh is looking for the big Doomfist ult, but he might be a little late on the drop here. He gets hook reset, so he gets him while he was bladed. Oh, that was huge out of Josh Nago. And now they are picking off every one of the Tide Pod Challengers remaining. Ball is Sexy is trying to just buy time around the point. Does he think he can still fight this? As he is now just finally getting a retreat. I've seen Evolite make a very good swap over the fair. There's really, I mean, there's quite literally nothing that will contest him in the sky.
Yeah, no, it seems to be a good pick here based off of this team. Not a lot of tanks here, lots of squishy people for them to tear up. And almost immediately we're seeing this fight go over in favor of the Tide Pod Challengers as Scotch does some pretty sweet drifting maneuvers over the Roadhog.
Yeah, Scotch was going for the big play to hold the point there, but I didn't see if he got blocked by the opposing shield or what, but that was after the fight had already been lost, and now that is a Ryan ult that will not be available going into this last fight. They only have the support ults to retake. They're going to be pushing into the support ults and most likely a Genji as well. They're trying to go here.
Daunting kind of position, but this could be the game-deciding fight right here.
A lot of dicking around the point. Now, Babel does die before she gets a chance to pop off that go-to ultimate. Is now hook resets, looking for the big Genji ult after he's lost a lot of teammates. Josh drops down, but he does not find the dash of Genji again. But hook resets is putting out some decent damage, but he might need more. Evolite, though, he's still uncontested up in the air. It's a 3v around the point, and there's the rocket barrage out of Evolite. He doesn't, no, he finds one, but maybe we're hoping for more, as now Captain has the counter Dragon Blade of his own. Looking to slice and dice people up, but he also finds this damage. No kill secures. This is Jim and Evolite. Now Scott gets a big hammer, but we see spawns coming up both teams. Josh Nago's Doomfist dies on the entry, and this is finally a man advantage in favor of Tide Pod Challengers, and it's enough. Tide Pod Challengers take Ilios 2-0, and they take the match 3-0.
The Tide Pod Challengers showing up big when they needed to. Backs against the wall towards the end, coming into the second half, almost the end of the first half of the season. But they are able to find the win they've been looking for. In dominating fashion, no less.
Yeah, Ball is Sexy here on the play of the game. Going big. He's like, oh, you want to hammer down my boys? Fuck you! Get off of the point, bitch! It worked.
Mission accomplished.
Well, folks, you stuck with us through everything on King's Row. We really appreciate that.
Yeah.
And that's going to do it for tonight. We will be back in a week. Goodbye.